Hi everyone and welcome back to a new video. My name is Emma if you don't know me, and I make crochet tutorials here on YouTube. So guys, thank you so much for waiting for me. I know I've been gone for maybe like 6 months. College was super crazy, but now I have a little bit more time to make a few videos, and I am delighted to be back today with a new jumper tutorial. This is suitable for beginners, so if you're a beginner, do not be afraid. As always, since I am back, I've got loads of ideas, but if you guys have any recommendations, please do leave them down below. And if you have any questions, please do feel free to leave them down below as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe. Oh my God, hold on, sorry. Guys, 100,000 subscribers. I can't. I actually haven't been on here since I hit 100,000. But yeah, thank you so much for 100,000 subscribers. That is literally amazing. I am so grateful and I am so glad to be back. So I shall see you guys soon. Again, please remember to like the video, subscribe, turn on the post notifications if you want to be notified every time I post, and please enjoy the video. See you soon. Bye guys. Okay guys, so we're just going to have a quick look at some measurements first before we start. So for the width of my jumper, mine is going to be about 20.5 inches. And for height, it's going to be about 16 inches in total height. So to get your own measurements here, you're just going to measure from your shoulder all the way down to where you want it to sit. Again, for me, this was 16. And then from that point that you have at the bottom, so mine was kind of around my waist area, you're just going to measure across whatever kind of width you want, whatever width is comfortable for you. Again, for me, that was 20.5 inches. Now for the sleeves, you're going to want to measure from the top of your shoulders down to your wrist. For me, this was 16. And then you're going to want to measure kind of around your upper arm and just kind of make it as loose as suits you. Mine was about 17 inches in total. But again, it's totally up to you, whatever width you want to do here, okay? And you're going to just add your own measurements in throughout the video, you know, rather than use mine if you want to change them up a bit. Okay, so for materials, you're going to need scissors, stitch markers, a tapestry needle, 5.5mm hook, measuring tape, and you're going to need about, 4 to 5 balls of Sirdar Snuggly yarn. It is an acrylic yarn and it's Aran weight, and I think the full name is Super Soft Rainbow Drops yarn, and it's in the colour Smarty, and I'll put a link for that down below if you want to buy it. So that is what I'm using, but any kind of Aran acrylic yarn will do for this, or even cotton or wool, whatever you want to use actually. Okay, so now we are going to create a slip knot, okay, and I'm just going to run through it here, but if you want this in depth, please go onto the basic stitches video where I go over it in a lot more detail, okay? So if you're a beginner and you don't know how to do slip knot, you can head over there, learn how to do it, and come back here, okay? Because I just go through it very fast here, okay? So once you have your slip knot done, you're going to just put your hook in there and tighten it to make sure that that loop is on your hook, okay? So what we're going to do now is we are going to create 3 chains. So this is the first chain here. That's fast. I'm going to go through it slowly now. So you're going to face your hook downwards. You're going to loop it up to the right, and you're going to pull it right through that space there, okay? One more time, you're going to put your hook downwards, loop it up to the right, and pull it right through that space, okay? So now we have 3 chains. And what we're going to do now, so we're going to create a foundation half double crochet chain. So what you're going to do, so as you can see, there's basically 3 chains on our kind of piece of yarn there. And what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over, so that's just wrapping the yarn around our hook, and we're going to insert our hook into the very first chain. Okay, can you see the way I did that there? So that there's kind of like a V on top, and there's just one kind of strand of yarn holding it together there at the bottom. So as you can see there again, we've got those 2 strands on top, and what we're going to do is we're going to kind of hook our hook around the yarn, and we're going to pull it right through, okay? So we have 3 loops on our hook. Now we're going to yarn over and pull through that first loop like so. So we still have 3 loops on our hook. Now we're going to yarn over again, and we're going to pull through all 3. Okay, so now we have kind of 2 stitches on our kind of cluster of yarn there. Okay, so we have 2 half double crochets. Okay, so that's our first one there, and that is our second one. So to do that again, we're going to yarn over. So this is going to be our 3rd stitch in our foundation half double crochet chain. So you're going to kind of turn this kind of cluster over, and we're going to look at the bottom kind of side of this yarn. So we're going to yarn over, and we're going to look at that V. So see where I'm sticking my hook in there, okay? We're going to grab 2 of those strands onto our hook. So you can see where they're kind of forming a V there. I'm going to take it out, show you again. So that is where, so we're kind of turning it over on the bottom half of this kind of cluster of yarn. We're going to see that V at the bottom. We're going to stick our hook in right there, okay? So remember, we're going to have that V on our hook. We're going to yarn over, pull up a loop. So we have 3 loops on our hook. Now we're going to yarn over, pull through that first loop. 3 loops on our hook. Now we're going to yarn over and we're going to pull through all 3. Perfect. So that's 3 stitches now on our foundation half double crochet chain. Okay, yarn over again. So again, we're looking at that kind of bottom side of our cluster of yarn, and we're going to look at that V, get that V onto our hook. Okay, we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through the first one, then we're going to yarn over again and pull through all 3. Okay, and I'll show you again. So we're going to turn it over and kind of look at the left hand side or the bottom kind of side of this chain, yarn over, and we are going to go into that V again, or the next V. See right there, we're going to yarn over, we're going to pull up a loop, 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through the first one, yarn over, pull through all 3. Perfect. Okay, one more time, or many more times, but I'm going to show you one more time. So we're going to yarn over into that next V there, looking at that kind of bottom side of our chain, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first one, yarn over, pull through all 3. Okay, so can you see the way it's kind of starting to form a chain there? So basically why we do this is, so if you do like a normal chain, sometimes it can be really tight, especially since we're not doing ribbing on this jumper. I thought it was kind of important to make sure the bottom was going to stay stretchy. And this chain ensures that it stays stretchy because we don't have that like traditional chain at the bottom. So I'm going to keep going until I get to 68 stitches or until I get to 20.5 inches. Okay, so whatever your kind of measurement was for the width of your kind of body pieces, that's how much, or that's how long you want to make it. Okay, once you have completed all of your stitches there, so your 68 stitches or your 20.5 inches or whatever you had, you're just going to chain 2. So 2 normal chains at the end, and then we're going to flip over our work. So we're going to turn it around. So now we are looking at something a little bit different. So if we zoom in here, let's have a look. So we have all of our stitches here. So what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over and we're going to insert our hook into that very first space that we see there. Okay, so inserting it into the very first space, yarning over and pulling through. So I have 3 loops on my hook. Then I'm going to yarn over again and I'm going to pull through all 3. Okay, and that is just a normal half double crochet. So from here on out, we are just doing normal half double crochets. So we're going to yarn over again, insert into the next space. So just underneath that V is where we're going to be going, but the spaces should be pretty obvious at this point. So, you know, they should be pretty clear to you, or where they are. So yarn over again into the next space. So that V is going to be on top. You're kind of going underneath that V. Going to yarn over, pull up a loop. 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Yarn over, insert your hook. Yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Okay, so you're just going to keep going with that all the way down to the end of the row. So just totally normal half double crochets all the way down until you get to the end, and then I will show you what to do. I shall see you then. Okay, so here I am. This is my final stitch of the row, just getting in there, making sure, just make sure you actually don't miss this one, because sometimes it can be a bit hard to see, but you have to go in to make sure you get that straight edge, okay? So when you're done, just chain 2 and you're going to turn your work right back around. So we're looking at the back, and then we're going to yarn over and go into that very first stitch again as the first stitch of the row. So with a half double crochet, you're always going to go into the very first stitch of the row, because that chain 2 doesn't count as a half double crochet. So again, you're just going to go all the way down until you get to the end. Then you're going to chain 2, and then you're going to keep going and going and going. So you're just going to keep doing rows until you get to your total height minus 2.5 inches, okay? So for me, like we said, my total height was 16 inches, okay? 16 inches minus 2.5 is 13.5 inches, okay? So I'm going to go up 13.5 inches, or for me, that is actually 39 rows, okay? So I'm going to keep going until I get to my total height minus 2.5 inches, okay? So I will meet you back when that is completed, and here we are. So this is my 39 rows or my 13.5 inches, okay? And from this point, we are going to start on our neck, okay? So on the kind of V area. So we're going to start decreasing. So what you're going to do here is you are just going to get your number. So mine is 38, and you're going to divide that by 2. So again, so that is 34 for me. So I'm just going to count 34 in from the side, and I'm just going to put a stitch marker in to that space there, okay? So I'm just going to count 34 in from the side, put a stitch marker right there in the middle, and then we are going to measure or kind of put stitch markers for the shoulders as well, okay? So, and I'm so sorry for the lighting here. I had to film it at night and it looks so bad, but you know, it is what it is. The content is still there. So, what you're going to do now, so there's my middle marker there, so 34 in, then those two ones, so the 2 stitch markers at the side there are basically indicators for the shoulders. So my V is going to go out up until those points, if that makes sense, and then I'm going to stop decreasing and just leave it, and so the shoulders will be that width, okay? So for me, the shoulders, I decided were going to be about 6.5 inches. So basically what I did was I just measured in from the side, okay? And here you can see I actually measured 6 inches. Later on, I did decide I wanted them a little bit more, or I wanted them a little wider. But I'll show that in a minute. But basically, just measure on yourself how far you want your shoulders to go in. Mark those places, make sure they're even. And then that's where you're going to know when to stop decreasing for the neck. Okay? But all will be revealed as we go. So, I'm still attached to my big rectangle at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to half double crochet all the way down this row, okay, disregarding that stitch marker for the shoulder. That's just an indicator for us. We're not actually going to use it right now, but you're just going to half double crochet all the way down the row until you have 2 stitches left before the stitch marker, okay? So 2 stitches left before the stitch marker, and I shall see you when that is done. Okay, so all the way down, half double crocheting into every single stitch until we have only 2 stitches left before the stitch marker. And here we are coming up to this point here. Okay, so 2 stitches left before the stitch marker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a decrease. So yarn over, insert your hook into that space, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook like normal. Now we're not going to finish it off. We're going to yarn over again, insert it into the next space, pull up a loop, and now there is 5 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through all 5 in a decrease, okay? So now we're going to chain 2, and this is the V, keep in mind, so chain 2. We're going to turn around, and we're going to skip the very first stitch, okay? So we're not going to put any stitch into that first stitch like we normally do, and in the following 2 stitches, we're going to do a decrease, okay? So skipping that first one, yarn over, going into that second stitch, okay, pulling up a loop, 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, into the next stitch, pull up a loop, 5 loops on our hook, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 5, okay? So that is our decrease and our skipped stitch there, okay? So now we're going to half double crochet all the way back down to the end of the row, and we're going to chain 2 when we get to the end of the row. So all the way down, putting 1 half double crochet into every single space. Okay, here we are at the end. I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2. I'm going to turn my work around. So see the way that's starting to kind of slant there? Okay, so we're going to go back down. We're going to put 1 half double crochet into every single space until we have 2 stitches left before the stitch marker. So here we are in our 2 stitches before the stitch marker. So see this space I'm kind of looking at here. We don't want to look at that because that is the space where we skipped a stitch. So that's not actually a stitch that we're going to go into. It's these 2 ones that we're looking at right here. Okay. So insert the hook, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, go into the next one, do the same thing, 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 5, and that's a decrease there, okay? Chain 2, turn your work around, then we're going to skip the very first stitch. So skip this one here. So skip that first one. And we're going to go into the following 2 stitches and we're going to do a decrease. So insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over into the next space, pull up a loop, 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 5. Yarn over, and then we're going to put 1 half double crochet into every single space until we get to the end of the row. So here's me at the end. That's the final one there. So we're going to chain 2 and we're going to turn our work around again. Yarn over, and then we're going to put 1 half double crochet into every single space again until we have only 2 stitches left in the row. Here we go. There's our 2 final stitches. And then we're going to just do a decrease in here, okay? So once that's completed, we're going to chain 2. We're going to turn our work around again. And like we did before, we are going to skip the very first stitch and we're going to do a decrease in the following 2 stitches. So again, we're skipping that first one, yarning over, and we're going to go into the second and third stitch with a decrease, okay? And I'm almost certain this is our final decrease round. So for me it was 6 rows in total to get to the width I wanted for my shoulders. For you this might be more, it might be less, kind of depends on what measurements you did, but for me it was about 6 rows in total, okay? Now if you wanted to make the neck kind of like bigger, you could just do another row just with no decreases or increases or anything, just like a normal one if you wanted to, but try it on as you go. Like this suited me fine, but if you wanted to have that like kind of extra room on the neck, you absolutely could do that as well, okay? So just, you have options, whatever you want to do is fine. So see the way that my kind of stitch marker is a little bit off that corner, so I made my shoulder a little bit wider than I had originally planned, okay? So that's just why that is a little bit off. So instead of the 6 inches I was originally planning, I did 6.5. Okay, so when you're done, you're just going to cut off the end and you're just going to pull your crochet hook upwards, okay, to create a knot, and then you're just going to pull that end of the yarn tight, okay, to tie that off. So now we're going to do the very same thing on the other side, which should be super easy because everything is kind of even. And I'm just going to attach my yarn onto the corner here. So I'm looping around my hook, okay, and kind of pulling it so that shorter edge is kind of short-ish, as short as I can kind of make it with still being able to pull this through. So I'm just pulling up a loop here, okay, holding it with my forefinger on my hook. Then I'm getting into position with my crochet hook and my yarn, and I'm chaining 2, okay? And now I'm going to yarn over and go into the very next stitch to create my first half double crochet. Keep in mind now that this end, I'm just placing it over my crochet hook so that I am crocheting over it, so I don't have to weave it in at the end, okay? So this is just for easiness sake, so we don't have to go in with our tapestry needle later on, okay? So you're just going to place that loose end over your hook as you're crocheting, okay? So just like that. So you're going to go all the way down to the very end of the row until you have 2 stitches left before the stitch marker. There you go. So 2 stitches left before the stitch marker. And we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, and then we're going to go into the next one for a decrease, okay? So I'm decreasing in the final 2 stitches of the row. I'm chaining 2 and I'm turning my work around. And then I'm going to skip the very first stitch there. And I'm going to go into the second and third stitches there with a decrease. So it is the very same steps as last time. And we're just going to go all the way back down the row, placing 1 half double crochet into every single stitch until we get to the end. And once we get to the end there, we are going to chain 2. And then we're going to go back around. So guys, it's the very same thing as we did on the other side. It should be equal just because, you know, it's the same amount of stitches and we're doing the same technique. So it should be even. If yours isn't, maybe go back and have a look and see maybe if you missed a stitch somewhere. But this is essentially what it's going to look like at the moment. Okay, so do the same thing on this side as you did on the other side. Okay, perfect. So we're going to fold that up, put it away, and we're going to work now on the back panel. So for the back panel, you're going to do the very same steps as you did at the beginning. So you're going to do the 68 inches across, and you're going to go up as far as, so it's going to be 15 inches for me, but for you, it's going to be whatever your total height was minus 1 inch, okay? So I went up, and actually for me, that was 42 rows. So 42 rows, or until you have only 1 inch left, okay? So you're still attached to your big square. And what we're going to do is we're just going to measure the shoulder. So again, we know it's about 6.5 inches for me, okay? So you're going to count the stitches, or you can use your tape measure to indicate how far you have to go in here. But I'm just going to crochet as far as 6.5 inches on this, on the top of this second, or the back panel here. And then I'm going to stop. Okay, so I'm going to go as far in as 6.5 inches, like so. So here's my 6.5 inches. Once I get there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 2. So it's chain 1 and chain 2. And I'm going to turn my work around. And then I'm going to go all the way back across to the other side. Okay, so all the way back down again. And we're going to do a total of 3 rows here. So to bring my total up to 45 rows. Okay, so the front and the back are both going to be 45 rows in total. And they're going to be 16 inches in total also. Okay, so again, this depends. Yours might be different. So this is my third and final row here. And keep trying it on as you go, just to see if you need to make any adjustments. Like again, you might need to do an extra row here if you need to, but please, you know, make sure to keep trying it on so you know you get the perfect fit. So I'm just tying it off there, and I'm going to do the very same thing on the other side as well. Okay, so I'm going to go in 6.5 inches. I'm going to stop, then I'm going to do the second row, and then I'm going to do the third row, and then I'm going to tie off. Okay, so here's me just counting the numbers, how many stitches I'm doing, just to make sure that they match. And here I am just attaching my yarn. So just looping it around my hook, pulling it up, holding it with my forefinger, getting it into position with my other fingers, and just chaining 2, holding that kind of loose end at the back. So then I'm going to go all the way down the row until I get to the end. So here's me just doing my half double crochet there. So you're just going to go all the way down the row until you get to 3 rows again, and here is your finished back panel. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to just put the front panel on top of it, and just before we kind of move on to the sleeves, I'm actually going to attach these together. So you're just going to place your 6.5 inch shoulder things together, and you are just going to slip stitch across, and that's your neck hole there. So I'm going to just show you how you can slip stitch them together. So what you're going to do is you're going to insert your hook into the corners of each of your panels, so the front and the back panel, like so. Then you're going to get your yarn, and you are just going to attach it very like we were doing before. So just loop it over your hook, pull up a loop, hold it with your forefinger, and get into position with your other hand, holding that loose end at the back with your middle finger there. Okay, just chaining 1. So to slip stitch, what we're going to do is we're going to get, so basically we're going to get the front and the back onto our hook. So those are your 2 kind of pieces here. So that is your back panel, the other one is your front panel. So you're going to go through both. So you're going to get the V from the front panel and the V from the back panel onto your hook. So you see the first one there, and there is your second one. Okay. So we're going to pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, and what we're going to do is we're going to pull that first loop through the second loop to create a slip stitch. Okay, so now we're going to go into the next space. So again, getting that V onto your hook, like so. Perfect. And then we're going to go through the back panel as well. Then we're going to pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, pull that first loop through the second loop to create a slip stitch. And so you're going to go all the way down this row until you get to the very end. And make sure you're somewhat kind of matching them up in terms of stitches. So the first stitch with the first stitch, the second stitch with the second stitch. So you have that kind of even, they're attached evenly and they're not kind of like bunching up anywhere, or, you know, they're too tight, they're too loose, whatever. So just make sure you're kind of matching them up as you go. And I shall see you when this is completed. So you're going to go all the way down until you reach the end of the shoulder. And here we are on the final stitch. And when you're done, you're just going to chain 1, and you're going to cut the yarn there at the end, and you're just going to pull the yarn upwards like so and pull it tight. Okay, perfect. So that is one of the shoulders attached, and you're going to do the very same thing. So there you go. You see this, the seam there. And then, yeah, so you're going to do the very same thing on the other side as well. So slip stitch along that shoulder line. And then when you're done, you're going to have this lovely neck hole there in the middle. Okay, and that's where your head is going to go, obviously. So now we're going to do the sleeves. So you are going to make a foundation half double crochet chain to the width that you want your sleeve to be. Okay, so for my one, as you hopefully remember, mine was 17 inches. So whatever your width for the arm was, please make your chain that long. Okay, so, and I think that was 60 stitches for me. So if you're doing the same as me, it's going to be 60 stitches or 17 inches. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to chain 2. So when we're done the foundation chain, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to do normal half double crochets all the way along that row. And so the sleeves are actually like a million times easier than the front and back panel, because these are literally just like rectangles. Like we're not going to do anything crazy. We're not decreasing, increasing, it's whatever. We're literally just doing extremely normal rectangles. So if you have managed to do the front and the back panels, you're going to find this so easy. So all that you're going to do is you are going to continue on with this, doing rows and rows and rows of half double crochet until you get to the height you want. Okay, and for me, this is what that looked like. Okay, so it was about 16 inches in height there, so 16 inches up, or 45 rows. Okay, so you're going to make 2 of these. Once you have one done, you're just going to make a second one, and here they are together. Okay, now for me, like obviously I did 16. I think if I was to do it again, I would do it a small bit longer. I'd maybe add like 2 or 3 extra rows, but it was because I only had 4 balls of wool, and I probably would have benefited from 5, but it is what it is. For you guys, it's going to be so simple. Just get that extra ball of wool, and then you can crochet to your heart's content. So what I'm doing here is I am making 1 round around the neck hole to just kind of make everything a bit more cohesive. So I'm going around the back of the neck, and I'm just attaching my yarn at the back, okay? And I'm just chaining 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into every single stitch around the neck with a single crochet. So I'm going to insert my hook, crocheting over that loose end, insert my hook, pull up a loop, 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's a single crochet. So insert, you're going to pull up a loop, so wrap the yarn around your hook there. So that's the loose end I'm showing you. So wrap the yarn around your hook, pull it up, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so for single crochet, you're not going to yarn over before you go in to the next stitch. You're not going to yarn over, you're just going to go straight in, and that's the single crochet method. So that sounds so random. That's just the way you do single crochet. So you're just going to go into the next stitch, insert, pull up a loop, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so you're going to go all the way around, placing 1 single crochet into every single space until you get back to the beginning. Okay, So here is me back at the beginning. I have 1 stitch left, so I'm going to go into my final stitch there with a single crochet. Then I'm going to count 2 from the bottom, so that's my first chain, that's my second chain. Insert your hook into the second chain, pull that yarn up, okay, and you're just going to slip stitch them together, okay. So you're going to finish off with a slip stitch, chain 1. Then you're just going to grab your scissors, cut off that end of yarn, and you're just going to pull your hook upwards to tie that off. So pull it upwards, and you're going to tighten that, and then at the end we'll weave that in. Okay, so tighten that there. Brilliant. So then we have that round done, and it just kind of attaches the front and back panel together in a more kind of cohesive way, so you don't have that kind of like seam for the shoulder sticking out. So there you go, that is your round. You can do another round if you want to, but for me 1 was fine. And now we are going to attach the sleeves. Okay, so you're going to fold it open so that the seams that we did are facing us, okay? So that the kind of like bit that's sticking up the seam, it is facing us, and we're just going to make the, so we're going to place it kind of sideways. So this is the sleeve. You're going to fold it in half, get a stitch marker, and you are just going to indicate where the middle is. So fold your sleeve in half, indicate the middle here with a stitch marker. I'll just use a clip, use whatever you have. Okay, and open that up, and you're going to line that middle bit of your sleeve, or where the stitch marker is, with that seam on the shoulder, okay? So you're going to line them up. You can even like attach, like I'm doing here, you can attach the middle bit to the shoulder if you want to. And this just makes sure that we have even amounts of sleeve on either side. Okay, so just attaching them with stitch markers to make sure everything stays in place. And what I'm going to do very simply is I am going to slip stitch all the way along. Okay, so I'm going to get my hook and I'm going to attach. So I'm going to place my hook in through my sleeve and through that panel. I don't know if that's the front or the back panel, but one of them. Okay, attach it like we were doing before. Pull up a loop, hold that with your forefinger, and just pull up a loop there and chain 1. So you have just 1 chain, and we're just going to slip stitch all the way along this row. Okay, so again, getting the both sides onto your hook. Now this is a little bit different than we were doing before, just because obviously the sleeve, the kind of top of the sleeve where we're attaching them together, so the sleeve, like I was saying, is you're going to have all those V's on top because that's where the stitches were. So see, like very easily you could see that V there on the sleeve, but on the side of our panels, obviously there's no stitches there because we didn't start from the side, so they're kind of random. Like it's just you're sticking your hook in kind of anywhere that it'll go, but all that you have to do kind of here is just stick it in anywhere, but make sure that they're evenly placed. Now that's going to be easy because you're just going to use the stitches on the sleeve kind of as markers as where they need to go, so you're not really going to run into much issues placing them evenly because you know where you have to put them in anyway. But it might just be that little bit harder because there's not actual stitches to go to on the side of the panels. Okay, but you can do it, like you can see me here doing it, like it's actually grand, and you can get a bit of a flow going and do it pretty fast once you get into it. So you're going to go all the way down the side here. Sorry, my voice is like going so like croaky or something. I don't know what's wrong with it. Sorry guys. So anyway, once you get to the end, you are just going to chain 1 and you are going to cut off the end and you're going to tie it off. So cut off the end, pull your hook upwards to tie it off. So pull it up, perfect, and tighten it there. Brilliant. So you are going to do the so when you fold it over, this is a demo, so when you fold it over, you can see how the sleeve is going to look. So see that there? So there's our kind of panels and there is our sleeve attached very nicely. So now you're going to do that on the other side as well. Okay, so once that is done on the other side as well, now we have to attach the side of the panels and the sides of the sleeves together as well. So this kind of section here. So very simply, And we're going to have to do the sleeve as well. Like the little bit around the wrist, which is so simple. You will not have any issues with it. So what we're going to do to attach the side of the panels and the kind of sides of the sleeves as well, you're just going to literally slip stitch them together as we have been doing. You guys are going to be pros at slip stitching after this tutorial. So you're going to put your hook into the corners, again making sure both sides are on your hook. You are going to attach your yarn as we have been doing before, hooking around your looping it around your hook, pulling up a loop, holding it with your forefinger. Then you're going to chain one and you're going to hold that loose end with your middle finger there at the back. Okay, then we're going to go all the way in, slip stitching them all together, and just make sure that we are slip stitching on the wrong side. So make sure you're slip stitching here on the side where all of your seams are facing you. Okay, so make sure this isn't like the right side that we're going to be seeing. Okay, so you're going to go all the way up the side and then across the sleeve as well. So very simple. This is like the armpit area. There might not be a stitch to go into, but just stick your hook in anywhere. Just make sure you get both sides on and you'll be good to go. So there you go. Make sure both sides are on it. Slip stitch like so. And you're just going to keep going until you get to the end of the sleeve area. The sleeve area, like the sleeve. Sorry, not even the sleeve area, the sleeve. So we are now at the end of the sleeve. So don't tie off yet. So you can see there, that's how the seam looks. Like so, very neat, gorgeous. Then what we're going to do, so we're not going to tie off. We're on the sleeve portion here. And what we are going to do here to kind of create that kind of balloon effect, or that kind of like, you know, the effect you can see. I don't even know what to call it. Like, I guess like a kind of a puff sleeve or a balloon sleeve, I guess. But so basically what you do, so you can see here, so get into position with your hook. And what we're going to do is we're going to count 3 chains. So that's our first chain. That's our second chain. That's our third chain. We're going to insert our hook into the third chain there. Okay. We're going to pull up a loop. So we're going to pull up a loop. Oh, I've taken it out. We're going to do it again. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Into the third chain there. We're going to pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, pull that first loop through the second loop in a slip stitch. Okay, so slip stitching, we're still going with the slip stitch. So we're going to count 3 chains again. So 1, 2, and 3, insert into that third stitch there, and we're going to do another slip stitch. Okay, and you're going to go all the way around this sleeve. So, and you're going to slip stitch into every third stitch. Okay. And that's just going to create that kind of like bunched up effect on the sleeve super easily. Okay, so every third stitch you are going to do a slip stitch into. So here's me at the very end doing my final slip stitch there. To tie it off, I'm just going to chain 1, cut the end of that yarn off, and I'm just going to pull upwards to bring that yarn through and tighten it by pulling it like that. Okay, now make sure your hand fits in. This is me just like, oh my god, I hope my hand fits, and it did, thank god. So put your hand in just to see. Perfecto. That's great. And now what do I do now? I think I'm going to turn it around, or I'm going to weave in the ends. Let's find out together. Okay, I've turned it inside out, and now I'm weaving in the end. So this is essentially what I do to weave in the ends. So I get my yarn, I get my tapestry needle, and I just get my tapestry needle onto my yarn. And what I do is I just weave the yarn through the stitches. So I go into one and out through the other, into one, out through the other. So you can kind of see what I'm doing there. There you go. And then I'm going to pull it tight, and then I'm going to turn the work around, and I'm going to do it back the way I came. So in through one, out through the other, in through one, out through the other. And then I'm going to pull it tight again. And then I'm just going to snip off that end to tie it off. But here we go. Here it is. Here's the jumper on. She is so beautiful. I love her so much. And I love it. I love her with like a white t-shirt underneath. I think it gives off a very stunning vibe. Anyway, so thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed it. And please leave a comment if you have any questions or if you have something to recommend. Okay, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye. To made of people.